Very good afternoon, everybody. Today is the fourth day of our presentations, which are made by semester one students. And today they are making presentations on Victorian literature. This is the afternoon slot. Let us have a list of the presenters in this afternoon slot. I am sharing a screen. So we will have presentations by, first of all, ASHA, and it will be on character study. Jack Worthing, from Importance of Being Earnest. So you need to put something in between Jack Worthing and something there, either colon or a character in this play. Jack Worthing from Oscar Wilde's play, Importance of Being Earnest. Somebody is writing the importance of being earnest. So what is the correct title? Is it the importance of being earnest? Then see that you rectify it when you put timestamp. When the timestamp is put, you are supposed to rectify your things. Okay. Divya's presentation will be on Tennyson as a Victorian poet. Jatin's will be on the satirical nature of social class in the importance of being earnest. Jai Solanki's presentation on gender and sexuality in Robert Browning's work. I think you will take more than one work, so you can say works. If you're talking only about poems, then you can use word poems. But if it is poems plus something else, then works. Jai MARUNIYA's presentation on exploring themes, industrialization and utilitarianism in hard times. Exploring themes, you would need to put colon there, or you can say industrialization and utilitarianism in the hard times, colon, a thematic study. JAYSHRI will make it on relevance of Jude the Obscure. I think 11th of Jude the Obscure. That is still problematic. The 21st century youth, or you can just say in 21st century. Relevance of this in the 21st century. Krishna's presentation will be on hypocrisy as a major theme of the play, the importance of being earnest. So again, major theme, play, these are keywords, and all keywords are to be capitalized in the title. KUSUM's presentation on dramatic monologue and Browning. Robert Browning. You have to write full name because there is other Browning also, who also is a good poet. So Browning may lead to some other poets also. Maya's presentation on the nature of marriage in the importance of being earnest. Capital M is required in marriage. Shivangee's on hard times introduction. An introduction, you can say, hard times, colon, no space. Unnecessary space is put after hard times. An introduction. VISHVA's on the role of women, hard times. So again, there is unnecessary space before colon. There should be a space after colon, not before colon. Women should be capital W. The role of women, capital W. Okay? Tomorrow is the last day, and I hope tomorrow I won't have to tell these simple things. From the first day, we started seeing that let us write correct title, but still we are having lots of mistakes only in not understanding how a correct title should be written. So it means that we will take lots of time in learning English language, writing, thinking. It will take lots of time. It is not easy to teach the group of students who are not able to write one sentence in a correct manner after told 2-3 times. This is the 4th day, and tomorrow is the 5th day. So we want to see that tomorrow I don't have to suggest anybody about the mechanics of writing titles of presentations or titles of dissertations or assignments everywhere, because I'm worried that the same kinds of things you might be doing in writing your answer papers also. So your answer paper, which are handwritten, where you are not very conscious when you are writing, you might be making lots of errors in your writing. So if this errors continues, it means we need to work a lot. Consciously, we have to think that unknowingly, am I making any mistakes when I write English language or not? That you have to ask yourself, and you have to check yourself very consciously. Last one will be by HEMALI on social critics in the hard times. Again, that is hard times as a social critic. You can say hard times, a study of hard times as a social critic. No need to put plural s there. Okay, so let us start with the first presentation. Unmute the mic and then you start there.
So good afternoon everyone. I am going to present about character study of Jack Wardin in Importance of Being Earnest. So let's introduce about author Oscar Wilde. This is three-act play. Oscar Fangel of Frehertel Wiles Wilde was born on October 16th, 1844 in 54 in Dublin, the Irish poet and writer. He was popular for his dramatic portrayals of the human condition in the Victorian age. In the late 19th century, he became famous especially when citizens of Britain were able to embrace and appreciate literature. He wrote many poems, short stories, and plays, and in his writing, he criticized the Victorian society for its negative features like hypocrisy, narrow-mindedness, double standards, sexual repression, and class conscience. Wilde criticized Victorian in his masterpiece, The Importance of Being Earnest, especially its social aristocratic life, the social class system, and the attitudes of marriage and the duality of human. Then quality in character of Jack Wardin. So first, moral, true lover, intelligent, kind, and best liar. We can see that true lover for Gwendolyn for his love life, and then intelligent Lady Bracknell asked question in his conversation. He answer all question. Then kindness, he speak through that his name is Ernest. Then best liar, when Algernon asked about cigarette case, that who is little Cecily, that he is my aunt, so he called as best liar. Then character of Jack Waddin. So Jack Waddin, the play's protagonist. Then he was discovered an infant by the late Mr. Thomas Caldwin handbag in the cloakroom of a railway station in London. Then Jack has grown up to be seemingly responsible and respectable young man and a major landowner and justice of the peace in Hertfordshire, where he has a country estate. Then he is a guardian of Miss Cardu's granddaughter's name is Cecily, and he has other duties and people who depend on him, that including servant, tenanted farmers, and local cle- clergymen. Then more than any other character in the play, that Jack Waddin represent convention Victorian values. He want other to think he addressed to such a notion as duty, honor, and respectability, but he hypocritically flouts those very nation. Then while there's actually satirizing through Jack was a general tolerance for the hypocrisy in conversation Victorian morality. Jack uses his alter ego Ernest to keep his honorable image intact. And this character has changed into honest character. This is some this quote are Jack Wadding. Then Jack Wadding as honest. Jack uses his fictional brother to excuse him to go London looking for pleasure. He meets Gwendolyn Fairfax, who is a daughter of Lady Bracknell. The romance between Jack and Gwendolyn was rising in London. At that time, the name of Ernest has become popular among ladies. The name of Ernest seems to give satisfaction or guarantee in life for Gwendolyn and Jack's niece Cecily. Jack was introduced himself as Ernest to Gwendolyn. Jack was tried to propose Gwendolyn. He tries to send a signal to Gwendolyn that his name is not Ernest but Jack. So she thought that Ernest is a nice name and it was a name that any woman would agree to get married with him. Jack was facing many challenges in order to achieve his happiness with Gwendolyn. Then compared the character of Jack and Algernon. So Jack was 13 years old and then Algernon was young. And he was presumably an orphan and Algernon is belong to aristocrat living. Jack is guardian of Sicily, and Algernon, he is characterized by always being hungry or eating. Jack is as it was his protector was a rich man, and Jack enjoy a home in a country. Then Algernon, he does not have any cash for marriage, family, respectability, and responsibility. So we can say that he is feel free from everywhere. Then Jack character is quite favorable for marriage based on his income, but his lack of family history make it burden for him to marry Lady Love Gwendolyn. And he then Algernon, he owns money to several debit collectors, and he is apparently more worried about being fashionable, acquainted, and fat and stable. Then Jack escaped to the city under the name of Ernest, and Algernon escaped to the country under the name of his invalid friend named Bunbury. And this is my resources, and thank you so much.
So, Asha, what are Jack's view on social responsibility and respectability?
So Jack Worthing as social responsibility and respectability. He present that social responsibility and respectability. In responsibility, we can see that he is a guardian for Sicily. That is responsibility and respectability as that he sure uh, his character that he
So, Asha, how do Jack and Alcott differ in their social backgrounds and upbringing?
uh, Jack Worthing as a responsibility and respectability character, and he was found in handbag of Miss Prism, and Algernon. Then Algernon has no any responsibility. So he is coming from Victorian aristocratic society.
A very good afternoon to everyone, respected sir and dear friends. Today I am dealing with Tennyson as a Victorian poet. This is my personal information. These are the points which I discussed today. Introduction, early life of Tennyson, literary career, major poems as a representative of Victorian age, death and conclusion. Introduction. Alfred Lord Tennyson, one of the most heralded poet of the Victorian era in England. He was named the UK Poet Laureate after William Wordsworth and served as the position of Poet Laureate as the age of 42 years. He is remembered for his sober style and moralizing tone. And we find that Tennyson was known for his using theme like isolation and use elements like history and mythology. Early life of Tennyson. Tennyson was born in August 6, 1809 in Somersbury, Lincolnshire, England. He had 4 sisters and 7 brothers, and along them his two younger brother, Frederick and Charles, also used to give our contribution in the literature. And the first contribution by Tennyson, he wrote the help with his brother, younger brother Charles, and to create one famous first collection, and the name of the collection is the Poems of Two Brothers. Tennyson was the fourth of 12 children of Rector George Clayton Tennyson and Elizabeth Bethan Tennyson. Literary career of Tennyson. From 1813 to 1833, Tennyson's poetry came in two collections. These were not met without outstanding reviews. And after then, in 1815, that Tennyson reached the peak of his career, and he published his masterpiece called In Memoriam. This piece, inspired by Hallam's death and lead to be his naming as a poet laureate. We find that in 1815 that he reached the peak of his whole career. We find that it's a poem in memoriam, which many scholars believe that the poem, which was inspired him to the death of his close friend Arthur Hallam. And after 1815, while he wrote the poem in memoriam, and after then he served as the position of poet laureate and lead as the poet laureate. Major poems by Tennyson, The Lady of Shalott. This is the best poem or famous poem by Tennyson. The Place of Art, A Dream of Fair Woman. The Harper writes, On in One, the letters Easter, Mariner in the South, Maud, Idylly of the King. These are the best poem or major poem written by Tennyson. As the representative of Victorian poet, Tennyson stands as the same relation to his times as Chaucer in 14th century and Alexander Pope in 18th century. And we find the Tennyson as 18th century and Victorian era. Tennyson faithfully reflects the various aspects of Victorian life in his poetry. The faith, grief, and victories of Victorian were reflected in his poem. Portrait of nature. We also find that Tennyson was known as the poet of nature, and Alfred Lord Tennyson used the nature in his poem to see a backdrop both physically and emotionally. We see this best example of his poem, the Lotus Eaters, where the use of nature enhanced the feeling of inertia and fatigue. In this poem, the Lotus Eaters, which was written by Tennyson in 1827, and while during his trip with Arthur Hallam in Spain, explored the effect of war. We also find the effect of war, how to write Tennyson in his poem. Tennyson explored the theme of war in his famous poem, The Charge of Light Brigade, a narrative poem that tells the story of group of soldiers and the impact war has on them. The poem, The Charge of Light Brigade, this poem deals with the two unity and war between the British unity and the Russian unity. And the poem, The Stars of the Light Brigade, which was written during the Crimean War. Death of Tennyson. Tennyson continued to write into his 18s and died at the age of 83 in October of 1892. His body was interred as Westminster Abbey, and this day he remains one of the most popular Victorian poets. Conclusion. In conclusion, the Tennyson poetry served as a valuable reflection of the Victorian era's spirit, capturing the hopes, fear, and moral dilemmas of his time. His work continue to be celebrated for their poetic craftsmanship and their insight into the human condition, making him a central figure. We find the central figure after the, along with another age in the Victorian era. We find the Tennyson as the one of the central poet of this era and a figure that landscape of Victorian literature. This is my work cited, and thank you everyone. Now anyone have question regarding?
So, Divya, how did Alfred Lord Tennyson reflects the theme of war in his poems?
Okay, the theme of war, which used by Tennyson, I earlier include that the theme of war used by in his famous poem, The Charge of Light Brigade. In this poem, Tennyson include the theme of war between the Russia and British unity. Another anyone?
Divya, in which year Tennyson served the position of poet laureate?
In the 1815, Tennyson served as and lead the position of poet laureate. Thank you, everyone.
There are this question. If you see, there are two types of. One type of questions are to know more, and another is to test the knowledge of somebody. Like when you are facing interviews and you are asked questions, that is to test whether you know or not, because you are supposed to get pass or fail in interview. Whereas here you are not interviewer and you are not taking interview of anybody. So you should ask a question with an urge to know more. So you have to say that you said this in your slides, in your presentations, you have said all these things. Now, based on that, you want to know something more. If you ask about dates and this and that, it means you are testing the knowledge of the student, as if the student will fail to give a year, and so you will say that you have failed in interview. So we are not taking interviews of anybody. This you have to keep in mind whenever you participate in webinar, online presentation, and you have to ask questions there also. So how will you ask questions? To know more or to test the knowledge of the speaker? You are not supposed to test the knowledge of the speaker. You are supposed to have urge to know more. And so in that capacity, you are asking questions. So in this presentations, we are also learning how to ask questions, how to ask meaningful questions, and what capacity we have to ask questions. So you have to display urge to know more from the presentations which are made. That way you have to ask the question. So connect your question with something that is presented by the student. And why we want to do this? So at least 2 presentations you listen carefully. તમે બધાને તો નથી જ સાંભળવાના. 10 જણાને શાંતિથી સાંભળી લઈએ તો આપણું મગજ ચક્કર ભમર થઈ જાય. એટલીસ્ટ 2 ને સાંભળો. 2 ના 5-7 મિનિટ બોલે એ કોન્સન્ટ્રેશન, કારણ કે એટલું કોન્સન્ટ્રેશન રાખવું એ અઘરું છે. કે આટલી ઘડી એનું સાંભળતા જ રહેવાનું એ તો કેટલું અઘરું લાગે. મારે તો આખો દિવસ સાંભળવાનું છે. સવારથી શરૂ થાય તો છેક મોડી સાંજ સુધી ચાલશે. So I have to have more capacity to listen, take notes of everybody, and give comment on what you have done. For you, it is only 2. For you, it is only 2 that you have to concentrate, and whatever they have presented, based on that you ask. So you learn so many things. How to ask questions, how to listen patiently, take note of the things which are presented by the other presenters. In a way, you should be taking notes of all the things also, not only 2. Anything good being presented, you might be taking note of, you might be curious to know, and then to explore more, and then ask them afterwards also, that from where have you taken this? That is a good learning environment, which normally we lack in our situations, that we don't have a very healthy learning environment where people are curious to know from each other. Though we try to do that, આપણે થોડી કોશિશ કરીએ કે આવું થાય, પણ એવું થતું નથી હોતું હજી. એટલે તમને કેવું પડે કે આવું આપણે કરવા માટે આ કરી રહ્યા છે, કે તમે એકબીજાને સાંભળો, એને પછી પૂછો કે તમે આ ક્યાંથી લીધું, મને લિંક આપો, I want to read something more on that. That also, and here also, when you ask questions, you learn how to ask the question. So remember, you are not here to fail anybody. You are here to know more. And in that capacity, you are trying to ask the questions also. Very soon, we may have PhD Vivas also of our students. And then we will tell you everybody to attend PhD Viva. તમને એ પણ કહેશું, પણ તમે ને ઘણી વખત એમ થાય કે એ તો આઉટ ઓફ સિલેબસ છે, એટલે એમાં એટેન્ડ કરવાની કઈ જરૂર નથી, એટલે મોટા ભાગના એમાં હાજર પણ નહીં રહે. જેમ બીજા નાના મોટા પ્રોગ્રામ થતા હોય તો બહુ ઓછા લોકો હાજર રહે, કે આ તો આઉટ ઓફ સિલેબસ છે, સિલેબસમાં હોય એમાં. પણ જો તમે હાજર રહો એમાં પણ, તો ત્યાં પણ તમારે પ્રશ્ન પૂછવાના થાય. You have to ask questions there also. So how will you ask questions? Always remember, you want to know something, and so you are asking questions. You are not there to show that the speaker do not have enough knowledge. એ માટે તમારે પ્રશ્ન નથી પૂછવાનો કે હું અમને પાડી દઉં, જો આને કઈ આવડતું નથી, અને નથી આવડતું એવું કંઈક પૂછું. એ આપણે નથી કરવાનું. આપણે એ જે બોલ્યા છે એમાંથી થોડું વધુ આપણે જાણવાની ઈચ્છા હોય, એને ખબર હોય કે આમાં એ બોલી શકશે, આમાં એ વધુ વાત કરી શકશે, એ ખુલીને જવાબ આપી શકશે, એ રીતે આપણે પ્રશ્ન પૂછવાના. That is what we have to keep in mind when we draft our questions. So let us learn that when we ask questions. Yes, JAYSHRI is in this group. You have to check the timestamp of day 2. Day 2, I think there is a mistake because Krishna is showing 40 minutes and you are showing 1 hour. So her presentation cannot be that long, 20 minutes. JAYSHRI. So check and let me know whether the date is proper or not.
Sir, can I start?
Yes, you can start.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is JATIN. Today I am going
to present the satirical nature of social class and the importance of being earnest. Here are my some personal information. It's our content. First of all, we can see about Oscar Wilde. Second, short introduction about play, analysis of social class in the play, social satire in the play, impact of satire on the play's message, and the reference. About Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde was an Irish poet and playwright, known for his wit and satire. He was born at 16 October 1855, Dublin, Ireland. His father, William Wilde, was a surgeon and his mother was a famous Irish poet, and she knows her pen name Speranza. Oscar's elder brother, Will Wilde, was a famous journalist. Oscar married with Constance Leond in 1884. In 1888, he published his first work of prose, The Happy Prince and Oath Tales. Wilde is best known for his play. The first one is An Ideal Husband. It was published in 1895, and second one is The Importance of Being Earnest. It was published in 1895. Wilde died at 13 November 19th century in Paris, France. Some short introduction about the play, The Importance of Being Earnest. The Importance of Being Earnest, a trivial comedy for serious people, is a play by Oscar Wilde. A trivial comedy for serious people is a subtitle of its play. The play was first performed on 14th February 1895 at St. James Theatre in London. It's a satire of Victorian social hypocrisy. In a play, Jack Worthy is the main protagonist and he also played a role of Ernest. The theme behind the story is earnestness. The plot of the story runs around the marriage. The essential motivating factor which keeps the story going is marriage. Some major character in the play. Jack Worthy, it's also play a role of Ernest. Elganon, it's also play a role of Bounderby, Lady Bracknell, Gwendoline, and Cecily and Miss Prism. In the end, the characters get what they desire in a social acceptable way. Analysis of social class in the play. We can find out the two types of social class in the play. First one is upper class and second one is lower class. The upper class characters such as Lady Bracknell embody arrogance, superficiality, and read adherence to a social convention. In the lower class, the lower class character like a Miss Prism and Land portrayed as a mere prose, serving as a contrast to the upper class extravagance. Victorian upper class depends its member to keep up an important image in society and value money and appearance above all the else, including people. In a lower class was a characterized by individual who held working class jobs, often involving manual labor, and had limited access to education and resources. The social satire in the play. The first one is a false identity. The play revolves around the use of false identity, with a character adopting the names Ernest. The escape their social obligations. They highlight how easily individuals manipulate their identity, reflecting the superficiality of social class. The second is a marriage as a social currency. Marriage is portrayed as a means of securing or elevating one's social status rather than expression of love. Characters like Gwendoline and Cecily are the fixed on marrying a man named Ernest because of the name social contentions. Gentle hypocrisy. Wilde explores the hypocrisy of upper classes who often pretend to be a moral and right-outs while engaging in questionable behavior. Characters like a Lady Bracknell embody his hypocrisy with their strict adherence to social norms. The importance of name. The play's title itself a satire. It suggests that a person's name Ernest is more important than their characters. The ridicule, the emphasis placed on external factor like a names rather than their true qualities. Superficiality. The character are preoccupied with the trivial conquerors such a cucumber sandwich and tea, which symbolize the superficial nature of their lives. This satires the upper class observation with equality and appearance. In the importance of being earnest, Oscar Wilde employs the satire of mock and conventions and value of Victorian society, particularly regarding a social class, revealing shallowness and absurdity inherent in the pursuit of status and respectability. Overall, White use of humor and satire the script social classes division and to show their absurdity. Impact of satire on the play's message. Challenging convention. The satire in the play challenged the traditional nations to social class, exposing their flow and urging the audience to question them, breaking stereotypes. By operating both upper class and lower class character in the satirical light, Wilde breaks the hypocrisy and exposes the absurdity of the class hierarchy, promoting and social change. Through a sharp wit and humor, Wilde encourages the society to reimagine the limitation imposed by social class and strive for a great quality. In conclusion, the satire on social class is a central theme through the witty humor and clever dialogues. Wilde mocks the rigid and superficial nature of Victorian society. The character in the play often use a depiction and false identity to navigate the constricted of their social class, highlighting the absurdity of the class system. Whilst satire ultimately critiques the emphasis placed on social status, revealing the hypocrisy and shadows of a society that values superficial appearance over genuine characters. Here are some references. Thank you for your attention. And now you can ask question regarding it.
Jatin, why was the title The Importance of Being Earnest suggested by Oscar Wilde?
The Importance of Being Earnest is a title suggested by Oscar Wilde because we can identify the importance of name, the earnest. Both of character like Jack Worthy and Elgaran, both introduce himself as a earnest in a play. So the character like Gwendolyn and Cecily, both are want to marriage with a name of earnest people. It's therefore he suggests the title as the importance of being earnest in the play.
Satin, my question is that why do you consider false identity as a central point in the importance of being earnest?
As I mentioned, the false identity is a central point in my PPT because we can also find out importance of name like Ernest. Both character introduce himself as Ernest, and they both girls are also want to marry with a name like Ernest. So thank you for.
So very good afternoon to everyone. My name is SOLANKI, and today I'm going to present on paper number 4. My topic is gender and sexuality in Robert Browning's work, or we can say poem. So this is my personal information. Now we come to the contents. What is the contents, and what I will talk about in this presentation. So first we will talk about Robert Browning and his life. Second, his some poems, famous poems, and then we come to the main point or main theme of this presentation: gender interpretation in Browning's poetry, and then we come to the conclusion. So let's start with the introduction of Robert Browning. So Robert Browning was born in London on May 7, 1812. So his family has no proven Semitic connection. So in here we can first find out the family is not proven in Semitic connection, that their family are not connected in the way of the way of relations. His mother had Scottish and German origins, and his father was talented artist, poet, and critic. So here, if you find out why Robert Browning is chose to be a poet, you can find out his mother and his father are also in the, we can say, field of the writing, or we can say critical thinking as well. So his parent also support his parent also support uh, his writing in every way. He spent his childhood in Camberwell, London. He admired Caravaggio's painting at Edmodada, Andromeda, and Perseus. Browning wrote poetry from young age, influenced by Bryan and Pope. He left school at 14 and studied under a tutor. Browning attended some lecture at University College in 1829 to 30. We can continue his life that he decided to become poet at age of 20. So you can find out that first he leave his schooling at age of 14, and then he started to write poetry and becoming poet in 20 years age of 20. So his first published poem in 1833 is Pawn Line, and he inspired by Shelley, and also write his other two poems, or we can say works, or Sordello and Perseus. The other we can say, talk about the play that performed in 1837. The play name is Strafford, and Browning dramatic poems like The Ring and The Book are considers his finest works. So if you find out here that Browning is not only in poetry, or he also is he just want to be a poet, but you can find out his play is performed in the particular time. He met Elizabeth Barrett, a fellow poet, and they fell in love. They secretly married in 1846 and settled in Italy. Their marriage was happy and productive, and they had son Robert Weidman Barrett Browning. Elizabeth Barrett Browning had death declined, and she passed away in 1861. And Robert Browning also died in 1889. Was buried in Westminster Abbey. So now we talk about the famous poem of Robert Browning, that Robert Browning also write for Porphyria's lover, my last duchess, and Andrew del Sarto. So you can find out the year of 1836, 1842, and 1855. Before 90 start, he also he write so much poems, or we can say works, that very famous in that time of period. Now we come to the main theme, or we can say the main topic of this presentation: gender interpretation in Browning's poetry. So So here, name of Martins is writing article on the thing of gender and sexuality, that how Robert Browning is including this type of thing in his poetry, or we can say his work. So Arnbaum's article explore. So Arnbaum is Arnbaum, Ernest Fortuna, and Martins, we can find out they are writing article, or we can say they are critique on the Browning's poetry, that how he identity of the sexuality. So in this art, Ernbaum's article explored possible inspiration for Browning's Gremenius funeral, suggesting connection to gender identity and homosexuality. So the first, if we can find out in the article, the Gremenius funeral is they are like critiquing, or we can say they are suggesting the connection, how Browning is connecting gender identity and homosexuality. So Bohm associate the Gremenius interest in grammatical particles with encoding homosexual tendency, but his argument aren't entirely pursues. If I say that they are writing on Browning poetry of Grammy funeral, that they want to criticize, but other people are not very interest in this argument, so they are entirely, there is no truth, or we can say that we can some false rock also suggest in this article. The article also discussed the speaker's ambiguous gender identity, which is not fully confirmed in the text. So if you find out in the article is in article there is abstract. In abstract, they are saying about that Martins is putting arm bones, that how he Robert Browning is writing in this poetry about the sexuality and how gender discrimination happening, but there is not confirmation of this text also. Ernest Fontana's article provide a queer interpretations of Browning poems, Warning and Guardian Angel, suggesting unrealized homosocial relationship or same-sex intimacy in Browning's life. So there is also other two poems are there where Fontana is writing article on it, or we can say critique on it. Fontana's interpretation of wearing relies on or interpretation of detail, while his analysis of the guardian angel is more convincing, though not necessarily related to same-sex amatory feelings. But they are writing articles, but they are in a way not comfort, or we can say they are not sure about how if Robert Browning is writing this poetry, or this poem is truly connected with same sex or homosexual. But here you can find out that Martins is writing that they are not necessarily related. So this article deal into gender and sexuality in Browning's work, exploring various interpretation but leaving room for debate and discussion. So this article is a very we can say, we can, if I think, or if I conclude this article, then I will find out that Arnbaum or Martins or Fontana is not sure about, or not in a way very 100% giving in the critical argument, that how the homosexual and gender interpretation are in Browning poetry are in a way is good or bad. So after that, they are also debating or discussing about that, but as I said, they are not that sure, or they are not even related to this topic. So next we come to the conclusion, same from the next slide, that Armstrong article explore the connection between Browning's grammar experience and gender identity. So if I conclude this article, and if I connect with Robert Browning's life, then if you find out that Robert Browning is most of is not writing just poetry, he also writing other works as well. So in a way, if like Martin is or Martin's Arnbaum and Ernest Fontana is showing there in this article how they are not in a way following or is not really into the this gender interpretation and sexuality of this poetry as well. So this is my the poetry of the Grameen Pruned a step to a tune, square chest, errant each head, were the beholders. This is our master, famous, calm, and dead, born on our shoulders. So now I will come to the end, and if you want to know about Robert Browning's life, much about his life, then you can visit the third reference. That in this reference there is like different like Robertson and Frank is giving very good explanation, or we can good information about Robert Brown's life. So now I come to the end. Thank you everyone for listening. So now you can ask me a question.
Jay, my question is that how would you summarize the common themes of this article in relation to Browning works?
Why? So if like in a way I can say I've not summarized if you talking about the relation or any particular, like we can say, relation with connecting with Browning's work. But if I in my way, if I conclude that in common thing we can find that if I when I say that the in article they are talking about more of the sexuality and gender perspective. So if I want to connect the relationship with Browning's work or poem, then we can if you find out the common thing that they are using more of homosexual things. So in way they are not even like fully confident or fully into this. So if I want to summarize in common thing, then I will this is my answer is. Anyone else?
Jay, what is the overall tones of Martin's commentary on this article?
So as I mentioned that Martin's writing article on the other two articles. So they both are with Fontana and Domhar. Both are writing is they are in a way criticize the poetry, that how you can write the about gender or homosexual things. But I don't know why Martin's is why Martin is very if I say why is into it, but he also want to he also want to criticize, or he want to show others the Robert Browning's poetry are not in like proper way, or this type of things is not want to be in poetry. So that is my answer. Thank you everyone for listening.
Before we move on, okay, in one earlier presentation on Wild, Oscar, Wilde as parodist. This article was cited by Richard Foster. Whose was it? Do you remember anybody? Richard Foster's article was in the citation. Yes. The one who was cited, do you remember this? Wilde as parodist, the second look at the importance of being earnest. Gestor link was given in that. So in this article, the citation was not proper. Now here, Gestor is giving this site. If you see at the top here, there is the site, and when you click, you get this way. So there is ready-made this thing you are getting. You just have to copy and paste MLA style citation, so that you can use whenever it is given this reference. So whenever you are citing, that date will come here, accessed on 8th November. On whichever day you are citing, that date will come. When you use internet resources, that date is very important, that on which date you are accessing, that date also should come in the citation. So you'll see here. So that is one way to see that if site is providing citation, use that. You have to check whether any resource site is providing this, then it becomes easy for you to work on that. In this one, last one was Jay Solanki's. So here you have put this link of Google Books, which is very long. This is not the right way to give a link. So if you click on this link, we come to this website, Life of Robert Browning, which is written by William Sharp and John Parker Anderson. And here also it says create citation. Google Books also is providing this facility. So when you click this, you get here MLA, Sharp, William and Anderson, John Parker. The details you will get from Google Book. So when you cite Google Book, what to cite? That is also very important to be seen here. So that you cited with Robertson, Eric, Frank, this Life of Robert Browning, whether on Project Gutenberg also, this Life of Robert Browning is written by William Sharp. So that book it's edited by great writers. There is this. This is edited by Eric Robertson, but this chapter on Life of Robert Browning is written by William Sharp. So that you have to see carefully. It should go with Sharp. Not editor one. You have to write editor, ED, and then you have to put that. But the original writer, chapter title, if there is a book, and book is written by 10 writers, and separate chapters are written by them. And if you're citing one chapter, then who is the writer of the chapter? That you have to say Sharp, William, and then edited by Eric Robertson, and that will come later on. Once you will give to any machine, it will give you edited by so and so. And this article you are referring to, Martin's. So the other reference that you have given, you have not gone to those citations. For example, when you say this in this slide, or gender. Yes, so Arndt Bohm's article. So that Arndt Bohm's article should be cited. There, if you refer, or you can, if you say that it is referred by Martens, then you say as discussed by Martens in so and so article, Arndt Bohm discusses this. That way you have to show that you have not referred to directly Bohm's article or Fontana's article, but you got that from Martin's article. If that is what it reflects here, that you have taken from Martin's article, not directly from Fontana or Bohm's article. So that should get reflected, that as Martens have said so and so, then you have to cite that. And if you are able to, like, you have to try to see that you get that article. That is very important. When you have this kinds of thing that somebody has cited somebody and you are citing that somebody, you are blindly relying on Martins. You have to cross verify whether really that is being cited by Martins correctly or not. And if you reach to that article, directly cite the articles at that particular article. Why go via media? પેલો કહેતો તો કહેતી હતી એમ શું કામ કેવું? આપણે directly જ વાત કરીએ કે અહીંયા લખ્યું છે that. So what will happen in this process? You will learn to do cross verification. You will cross check everything, and that is very important skill, that we don't rely on whatever internet is giving us, but we do cross verification, cross checking. Then only we rely on that material. Without that habit is a very important habit to be cultivated, that don't rely blindly on what internet is giving to us, but question that aspect and cross verify, cross check, and then only you use any material that you get from internet resources. Okay, now you can start now.
Information, table of content. First, introduction. Second, what is the industrialization and utilitarianism? Industrialization in hard times, utilitarianism in hard times, social consequence, contemporary context, and conclusion, and then references. First, introduction. Dickens published this hard time novel in 1854. His setting was mythical place called Coketown, partly inspired by the visit to northern industrial town Preston, where he had observed a strike. Dickens was motivated by social concerns. He feared that the industrialization and progress threatened the stunt of human sympathies, forcing people into mechanist social role. He conveyed what life was like a factory towns by blending documentary realism with the imaginative, grotesque, and vivid melodramatic element. Thomas Gradgrin, Grad, Gradgrin, a staunch advocate of the rule and principle, has raised his children in a cold, lawless atmosphere. His utilitarian philosophy based on upon rational self-interest. The text drove a marked contrast between fact and fancy. Resident of Coketown delight the found only entertainment provided by Slary Circus. What is industrialization and utilitarianism? Industrialization. Industrialization is the process of transforming the economy of the nation region from a focus on agriculture to a reliance manufacturing. Mechanized the method of mass production are essential component of the transition. Utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is a normative ethics, the tradition stemming from the late 18th and 19th century. English philosopher, economist Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill, according to which action is a right that tends to promote happiness or pleasure, wrong that tends to produce unhappiness or pain, not just a performer of the action, but also everyone else affected by it. Industrialization in hard time. In hard time, Dickens sharply criticized the pure living condition of the working class industrial town. He depicts life in a fictive industrial town, Coketown, as a symbol for a typical industrial town in northern England of that time. It is a place of exploitation, desperation, and oppression. Soot and ash are all over the town, dirty and suffocating place. The worker have the low wages and work long hours. The work begins before sunrise and production of important, and there the no grade for the right and suffering of the low class. Children in school taught the according to utilitarianism philosophy, and they should accept and live according to fact and fact alone. In Cocktown, machine cause great pollution. Industrial worker have no chance of progress in life. In their upper middle class ignores the misery. His character in hard times show boundary and denies imagination and creativity. Grade green. Utilitarianism acts the mechanization of the society and human mind. Utilitarianism in hard time. Utilitarianism is a philosophy that leaves nothing to the imagination. Everything is the explained with the help and logic and fact. The goal of every individual should be receive the most pleasure out of life. Utilitarianism interpret for unity, well-being, and pleasure in life. From the beginning of the novel, Dickens introduced us the utilitarian way of thinking. Great Green and Bounderby are the most outstanding representative of the utilitarian philosophy. At the end of the story, when the Louisa come, they separate from the for her father, Mr. Greg, the never knew was unhappy. He was not able to identify his child emotion. Everything he believes is shattered, but he wants to make to Louisa. The whole system falls apart when Greg Green loses the confidence in it. Social consequence. In Charles Dickens novel, Hard Times, social consequence, industrialization and utilitarianism as central theme. There are some key points regarding the consequence. Dehumanization of worker, pure working condition, educational oppression, social injustice, rebellion, and discontent. Hard time illustrate a negative consequence of industrialization and the strict adherence to utilitarianism, portraying the society where human values and emotion individuality are sacrificed the pursuit of economic gain and efficiency. Contemporary context. Industrialization and utilitarianism have a complex and interconnected relationship in modern time. Utilitarianism is a moral, ethical philosophy that emphasizes the greatest good for the greatest number of people. There are some connect in modern time. Economic growth, environment impact, utilitarian policy, technology advancement. Industrialization and utilitarianism modern time interconnect through their impact on economic, social, environmental aspect of society. Conclusion. In hard time, Dickens' total vision is deep and whole experience though his idea and his view toward the life during industrialization and utilitarianism. Dickens is subjective and influenced the shaping of the reader opinion. He against the utilitarian system, against egoism and lack of imagination. There are my reference. Thank you. Now I'm ready for question.
How does Dickens depict the impact of industrialism on the lives of the character in hard times?
In hard time, Dickens depicts the negative impact of industrialization and there are character Bounderby and Bounderby and Grad Gay. They shown Industrialization on dehumanization and exploitation and the way of social mechanism society.
So, Jay, as you discussed the utilitarianization in hard times, so my question is, how do characters like Mr. Granurang and Mr. Bounderby embody the principle of utilitarianization in the story?
In hard time novels, Mr. Gradgrind and Mr. Bounderby embody the principle of utilitarianism in the shown your basis of knowledge and or your working and there are a principle of utilitarianism in this story.
That needs to be given correctly. Utilitarian, you have to understand that. I think we have put this link of one video also in material site, and there is this theme also, which is very important, that how it is a critique of this philosophy. So utilitarianism as a philosophy is not a bad philosophy. But still Dickens is very critical of that, because if it is stretched to extreme, and when you see that everything that you do should be useful in some material gain, then it is problematic. So all human relations, people say that, what is the utility of that? મારો શું ફાયદો? એમ જ્યારે લોકો જોવા માંડે ત્યારે એ નકારાત્મક થઈ જાય. Otherwise everything people do, people think કે આમાં ફાયદો હોવો જોઈએ, પણ કોનો? જન સમુદાયનો, વધુ લોકોનો ફાયદો હોય એ પ્રકારના કામ. જ્યારે લોકો કે મારો ફાયદો, ત્યારે utilitarianism negative થઈ જાય. So that you have to still say that how both these characters, Gradgrind and Bounderby, reflect that they are self-centered in looking at the utilitarianism. Okay, by the time she gets ready, let me share a few things. One, Vishwa, I think you have not given the marking on the last day. Vishwa, have you given the evaluation? Have you filled the form? Marking have you done of the third day? So then when will you do that? ક્યારે કરશો એ બધું? કે યાદ કરાવીએ પછી જ કરવાનું એવું નક્કી કર્યું છે? It is done after that only. બેસું થયું. So see that the reminder needs not to be given. એ આપણે જોવાનું છે કે reminder આપ્યા વગર એ કામ થાય. And I'm also checking the incomplete tasks in Google Classroom. So we have this record of Shivangi. So far, morning and afternoon ma 18 incomplete tasks. Satya Shivangi is leading. You are at the top. Incomplete task ma સૌથી વધુ તમારા છે. બીજા નંબરે વિશ્વા આવે છે 10 સાથે. 10 incomplete tasks in Google Classroom. So far, evening બાકી છે, evening જોવાનું. Morning and in this too, Vishwa is leading with incomplete task. Number 1, 18 tasks are incomplete. So let me remove this comment. Here we see lots of missing, where you see red color missing tasks which are not submitted by you. So there are so many missing tasks. These are all, see, you can say series of tasks which are missing. Once you complete the work, you have to hand in. You have to submit the task, which we keep on telling in class also. પણ આપણે ક્લાસમાં હાજર હોય તો ખ્યાલ આવે, અથવા કોઈને પૂછીએ તો ખ્યાલ આવે કે શું ક્લાસમાં થાય છે. પણ ન હાજર રહીએ, ન કોઈને પૂછીએ તો આપણને કઈ ખ્યાલ ના આવે કે આમાં આપણે કામ પૂરું કર્યું હોય, પણ આપણે જો એ હેન્ડ ઇન ન કરીએ, સબમિટ ન કરીએ તો એ ટાસ્ક મિસિંગ બતાવે રેડ કલર સાથે. That will, so that is the thing that you have to learn and see that these tasks are completed. And even your name, our basic system is first name, last name. નામ કેમ હોવું જોઈએ? શિવાંગી શેઠ, જે આપણે વારંવાર કહીએ. તોય તમે સાંભળ્યું તો હશે આ કરવાનું હોય કે પેલું આ રીતે નામનું એક સિસ્ટમ હોવી જોઈએ. તોય પાછું આમાં બદલવાની દરકાર નથી કરી તમે કે એ નામ અને capitalization also along with that capital. So if you see the list of the names, everybody's name, Akash Chawda, Akshay Nimbark, Asha Rathod, Bhumi Gohil, first name, last name, combination. Everybody has that first name, first, last name, last, this things. Maya is here, Maya Bhatia. You have to see that all capital should be removed. This formation of writing, Nanda, we told her today morning, I think she was, or in this morning, we told her that all small capital should not be there. And here I think you are the only one wherein Shet Shivangi is written. All others are first name, last name. This, and this is not first time. Like we have repeatedly in workshop also, senior students might have told that how to edit this, what is the name formation, another thing. Some of your photographs are not coming here. So why is it not coming? That you have to check this. That why still we are not able to see your photograph in this. That you check it out and see that it is visible at both places, YouTube, Google Classroom. If you allow sharing, then one photo will be shared in Gmail, in YouTube, in Google Classroom, everywhere. But you need to just go through the settings. If you have allowed the permissions for sharing the photo everywhere, then you need not worry. Automatically everywhere it will come. So that you need to check. So see that these works are completed. Incomplete tasks should be completed in due time. And a reminder, this time you have a long time. In the morning also I shared this. You still have 1 month. Your exam is in December. Had it been on 21st November, as per the schedule, then you will have to complete everything now. Otherwise, there was a vacation after 10th, and your whole ticket is to be signed. But if the work is incomplete, it will not be signed. You have to complete all your work in Google Classroom. Then only your whole tickets will be signed. So that you have to, and remember this time you got extra time, 12th December. So time is extended, but maybe next semester you will not get enough time. So if you will not do work regularly, then at the end of the semester, it will be very difficult for you to complete the thing. It will be the time when annual function will be there, farewell function will be there, and then you will be out of mood because lots of work is pending. પછી ના annual function માં મજા આવે કે ના farewell function માં મજા આવે. કારણ કે આપણે એમને એમ ગિનાયેલા હોય કે આપણને કોઈ ખીજાણું હોય. ખીજાયા શું કામ હોય? કામ ન કર્યું હોય એટલે. કામ કરવાની વારંવાર યાદી પણ આપી હોય, પણ તોય આપણે દરકાર ન જ કરી હોય. દરકાર ન કરવાનું કારણ એબસન્ટ રહ્યા હોય ક્લાસ. એટલે જે હાજર હોય એ બધું કામ કરતા હોય એને તમારા બદલે સાંભળવું પડતું. અનેક વખત એ વાત કરતા કરતા મેં ક્લાસમાં કહેલું છે કે આ જે ક્લાસમાં હાજર છે એના માટે નથી, આ ગેરહાજર છે એના માટે છે. જે ગેરહાજર છે હવે એ તો સાંભળતા પણ ન હોય. એટલે પ્રેઝન્ટેશન વખતે જ અમને મોકો મળે બધાને બરાબર પકડીને કહેવાનો, નહીતર પછી તો તમે હાથમાં જ નથી આવવાના. ક્લાસમાં અમે ગમે એટલી લાંબી લાંબી લવારી કરતા રહીએ, પણ જે બિચારા બધું કામ કરતા હોય એને સાંભળવું પડે. કોના બદલે તમારા લીધે કે જે ગેરહાજર રહેતા હોય, કામ ન કરતા હોય, એનું સાંભળવું કોને પડે? જે કામ કરે છે એને. એ પછી તમને પકડીને કહીએ ત્યારે આપણું મૂડ આઉટ થઈ જાય, પછી આપણને કાંઈ મજા ના આવે. જો કામ કરતા રહીએ તો બધી મજા આવે, બધાને મજા આવે, અમને પણ મજા આવે, તમને પણ મજા આવે. પણ જો કામ ન કરીએ, ગેરહાજર રહીએ, વેલા ભાગી જઈએ, તો એ કામ ન થઈ શકે. When we want to study, we have to study. આપણે ભણીએ ત્યારે ભણવાનું, એ કોઈ પણ રીતે જગ્યા કરવાની કે પૂરો સમય ભણવામાં આપી શકીએ. વારંવાર વેલા ચાલ્યું જવું એ રીતે ભણી ક્યારેય ન શકાય. So that you all, most of you are coming from nearby villages, so that you have to see કે હવે શિયાળાના દિવસોમાં તો દિવસો નાના થઈ જશે, એટલે થોડી વારમાં અંધારું થઈ જાય, એટલે ચાલો અંધારું થઈ ગયું ભાગો કરે, એમ તો ન ભાગી શકાય. તો ક્યારે ભણી શકાય? So you have to make a space. તમારા ટ્રાવેલ પ્લાન એ બધામાં એ રીતે જગ્યા બનાવવી જરૂરી છે. આઈધર યુ સ્ટે હિયર ઓર યુ સી કે આમાં તો અંધારું થઈ જ જશે શિયાળામાં તો વહેલું, તો એમ તમે વારંવાર વહેલા ઘરે ભાગી નહીં જઈ શકો. યુ હેવ ટુ સ્ટે એન્ડ સ્ટડી. તો આ બધી વસ્તુ અમે તમને કહી જ નથી શકતા કે તમે હાજર જ ન હો ક્લાસમાં કહેવા માટે. એટલે અત્યારે મોકો મળે કે અહીંથી તો ક્યાં છટકીને જવાના, પ્રેઝન્ટેશન વખતે અથવા પરીક્ષા આપવા આવો ત્યારે તમને પકડીને આ બધી વાતો કરવી પડે કે ધીસ ઇઝ હાઉ યુ આર સપોઝ ટુ સ્ટડી. એબ્સેન્ટિઝમ થી આપણે ક્યારેય ભણી શકતા નથી, એટલે આપણે જે લોકો એબસન્ટ રહે એને કહી દઈએ છે કે તમે એડમિશન વિડ્રો કરી લો. આપણે પ્રેમથી જ વળાવી દઈએ અને તમે જાતે જ વિડ્રો કરી લ્યો એટલે અમારે તમને કાઢી ન મૂકવા પડે. તમે જ એમ લખીને આપ્યું હોય તો કે ના અમે છોડીને ગયા છે, અમને કાઢી નથી મૂક્યા. પણ તમે જો નહીં આવો અને આવું કરશો તો અમારે કાઢી મૂકવા પડશે. યુ હેવ ટુ રિમૂવ યુ ધેટ સિન્સિયરિટી. અને એ પણ શું કામ, એના પણ ઉદાહરણ ક્લાસમાં આપ્યા છે કે કઈ રીતે કોઈ યુનિવર્સિટીના સ્ટિંગ ઓપરેશન થાય ત્યારે કેવી વાત આવે કે આ યુનિવર્સિટીમાં તો કોઈ ભણાવતું જ નથી. એ પણ વિડીયો જોયા હતા. ક્લાસમાં હાજર હોય એને જ આ બધી ખબર હોય, જે હાજર ન હોય એને કાંઈ જ ખબર ન હોય કે શું કામ આવું કહેવામાં આવે, આનાથી શું અસર થાય, આપણી આખી યુનિવર્સિટીને કેટલી બદનામી થાય, બધા ટીચરોની કેટલી બદનામી થાય જ્યારે આપણે એબસન્ટ રહીએ ત્યારે. જે વારંવાર ક્લાસમાં અમે કહેતા હોય કે વેન યુ આર એબસન્ટ ઇન ધ ક્લાસ યુ આર પ્રેઝન્ટ સમવેર. ક્યાંક તો તમે હાજર છો. પેલા મિસ્ટર ઇન્ડિયાની જેમ કે હેરી પોટરની જેમ પેલું પહેરી લીધું હોય ને ઇનવિઝિબલ થઈ ગયા હો, એવું તો નથી હોતું. જ્યાં તમે હાજર છો ત્યાં લોકોને ખબર પણ હોય કે તમે યુનિવર્સિટીમાં ભણો છો અને યુનિવર્સિટી કઈ દરકાર કરતી નથી, એટલે એને મનમાં એમ થાય કે આ યુનિવર્સિટી બોગસ છે. કારણ કે જો એના વિદ્યાર્થી તો રખડે છે અહીંયા, તો એના મનમાં શું, યુનિવર્સિટી બોગસ છે, ત્યાં ક્યારેય આપણા બાળકોને ભણવા નહીં મોકલવાના, એવું આપણે પ્રચાર કરીએ. વી બીકમ એમ્બેસેડર ઓફ ધ યુનિવર્સિટી બાય નોટ કમિંગ હિયર, રિમેનિંગ એબસન્ટ એટ હોમ્સ એન્ડ અધર પ્લેસીસ. અને પછી લોકો જેને ખબર હોય કે આ બધા યુનિવર્સિટીના પ્રોફેસરોનો તો પગાર આટલો બધો છે, એને એમ થાય કે આ તો કઈ ભણાવતા જ નથી. જયારે આપણે ઉભા ઉભા ભણાવતા હોય પણ તમે ગેરહાજર, એને લીધે અમે બદનામ થાય કે અમે ભણાવતા નથી. કારણ કે મોટા ભાગના લોકો એબસન્ટ રહેતા હોય એને લીધે બદનામી બીજાની થાય. એટલે આપણે વી આર ફ્રી ટુ ડુ વોટ એવર વી વોન્ટ ટુ ડુ, પણ આપણે જોઈએ કે આપણે લીધે બીજાનું બદનામી ન થાય. અને એમ લાગે કે આ રીતે ભણી શકાતું નથી તો આપણે વિડ્રો કરી શકીએ એડમિશન. વન કેન વિડ્રો એન્ડ ગો ટુ અધર પ્લેસ કે ત્યાં બધી વસ્તુ અલાઉ થતી હોય ત્યાં આપણે એડમિશન લઈ શકાય. પણ વેર ધેર આર રૂલ્સ, then rules should be followed when we take admission and when we study in a serious or sincere manner. So this work, જે આ બંનેના એટલા બધા કામ બાકી છે, શિવાંગી અને વિશ્વા, you see that this is done in due time. અને નેક્સ્ટ સેમેસ્ટરમાં આ બધી આપણે સૂચના ન આપવી પડે તો સારું, કારણ કે એ પછીના સેમેસ્ટરમાં તો તમે લીડર હશો, તમને જોઈને નવા વિદ્યાર્થી શીખવાના છે. પછી you will be leader, will get a followers. So we want to see that by next semester you all get good enough to see that the other students do not get a bad role model to be followed from you. Okay, you can start.
Today I am going to give my presentation on relevance of Jude the Obscure to 21st century youth. This is my personal information and this is the table of content. I am going to start with introducing you with the novel Jude the Obscure. Jude the Obscure is a novel by Thomas Hardy, first published in 1895. The story revolves around Jude Fowley, a working class young man with a strong desire for education and knowledge. The novel explores themes such as social class, education, marriage, and the constraints of society. Plot points include Jude's struggle for education and the challenges he faces as he aspires to become a scholar. He falls in love with his cousin, Bridehead, and they endure a complex and tumultuous relationship. The novel follows the couple's aspirations, failure, and the societal pressures that eventually lead a tragedy. Jude the Obscure is known for its critique of social and moral constraints and is considered one of Hardy's most controversial and pessimistic works. Overview of the Jude's struggles. Jude Fowley, the protagonist of Jude the Obscure by Thomas Hardy, faces numerous challenges and struggles throughout the novel. Social class, marriage, forbidden love, educational hurdles, religion, and moral constraints. Importance of education on for youth in 21st century. Education play a crucial role in the lives of youth in the 21st century, and its significance cannot be overstated. In today's rapidly changing and increasingly interconnected world, education is more important than ever for several reasons. Skill development, critical thinking, global citizenship, innovation and entrepreneurship, and social mobility. Challenges related to access to education. Despite the significance of education, many challenges persist, particularly for today's youth. We are the today's youth, so we know that what problems we are facing, like access to education. Like if we want a quality education, then we have to pay higher money for them, student debt, and because of that, we also also have to take a student debt, technology gap, and mental health. Love and relationship in Jude the Obscure. First, for a forbidden love. Jude and Sue's love challenges societal norms. Jude, why it's a forbidden love? Because Jude was already married with Arabella, and Sue was his cousin. So that was forbidden for them at that time. Marriage as a social contract. Marriage is portrayed as a confining and restrictive. Like when once you are get married, then you can't get out of that marriage. Gender roles and expectations. Sue's struggles reflects the challenges of gender roles. Tragic outcomes. Pursuing forbidden love leads to personal suffering and tragedy, like how Jude died at the end of the novel. Parallels to 21st century discussion. Non-traditional relationships. Contemporary discussion include LGBTQ plus and polyamorous relationships. Like we all are on social media, and we all know that what is LGBTQ plus, and we can say that there is in many countries LGBTQ plus is a banned. Then marriage and autonomy. Modern individuals prioritize personal fulfillment and autonomy. Gender roles and empowerment. Ongoing discussions emphasize gender equality and empowerment. Complex outcome. Love leads to both joy and sorrow, including breakup and personal growth. Like we are the youth of the 21st century, so I have seen so many examples of this happening in real life, so I can connect it with the real life. Like once when I was studying, there is a girl who was very clever, and after that if fall in love with a boy, and then her family find out that this happened, then after a few months they get her married off, and he's in her life now she can't be anything, like she is now a housewife. Religious and moral values in Jude the Obscure. Critics religious hypocrisy, especially through the character of Philistine, challenges societal constraints of human sexuality and relationships, explores theodicy and moral implications of suffering. 21st century debates, witnessing a decline in religion adherence and questioning of traditional religious institutions, ongoing debates about sexuality, gender equality, and personal autonomy. Third, contemporary exploration of existential questions and personal ethics, emphasize on individual autonomy and making choices based on personal values rather than conforming to societal and religious expectations. So these are some memes which are all over the social media, like American parents and Indian parents. Like in this novel, we see that Jude's aunt, Drusilla, who told him to die. Just like that, American parents, be yourself, and where Indian parents, be Sharmaji's son, he got 95%, 95.6 in vice pre-boards. Like we are getting compared to someone else. The second one is, if students were dying by suicide in some other countries, they had changed the education system. In India, we changed fence. We know that Kota is called as a suicide factory. According to NCRB, in 2023, there is a 23 students died in Kota. Third one is education in India, and the fourth one is education system in India. that how we have to pay money for a quality education. Conclusion. Jude the Obscure remains relevant to 21st century youth due to its exploration of love, relationship, religious and moral values, societal norm, barriers to social mobility, and mental health, reflecting ongoing discussions and challenges in modern society. Like we know that we can see in the news like so many students are dying because of results. Like results are not even come and they attempt the suicide. So this is what education is in 21st century. This is my reference. And now if anybody have a question, so please ask me.
So, Jayashree, my question is, how does the theme of social class in Jude the Obscure relate to contemporary discussion on inequality?
So my answer is in the Jude the Obscure, social class is very important. Like we have pa- parted our peoples in a classes like the people from lower classes don't get that education, that quality education, and they also don't get that opportunities in jobs. And there is so many things where we can see inequality in modern time. Anyone else?
So, Jayashree, as you give your thoughts on education in 21st century, so my question is, what parallels can be drawn between Jude's aspiration of education and similar aspiration in the 21st century?
So the parallel can be drawn between Jude's aspiration for education and similar aspiration for the aspirations in the 21st century is a self-empowerment. Like that, how Jude was influenced by Philistine. That just like that, we also want to be get empowered. Like we don't want to stay where we are coming from. Like we are if coming from a village, then we want to empower. Thank you. Good afternoon to all. My name is Dalya Krishna. Today my presentation topic hypocrisy is a major themes of the play. The importance of being earnest. Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde in full. Oscar Finger of play Harriet Wills White. He was born October 1854, Dublin, Ireland. Died November 13, 1900, Paris, France. Irish wit, poet, and dramatist, whose reputation rests on his only novel, The Picture of Dorian Gray, 1891, and on his comic masterpiece, Lady, Importance of Being Earnest, 1895. Introduction. The importance of being earnest in the full. The importance of being earnest, a trivial comedy for serious people. Play in 3 acts by Oscar Wilde. Performed in 1895 and published in 1899. A satire of Victorian social hypocrisy. The witty play is considered Wilde's greatest dramatic achievement. Hypocrisy as a major theme of the play. The Victorian era was a time of sameness and pomposity for the newly rich generation who quickly rose in class during and after the Industrial Revolution. Nothing was as it seemed to in this day when earnestness was allegedly the most prized attribute a man could possess. In Oscar Wilde's classical satires, The Importance of Being Earnest, every character embodies the idea and values of this earnestness. Oscar Wilde's the primary character in the Importance of Being Earnest. Jack supports hypocrisy when his mouth is open and sometimes when it is closed. At first impression, Jack seems to be a true gentleman. This statement condemns him as a dreadful, hypocritic to attentive readers. Jake claims to be gentleman through he leads a double life, yet still dictates to others how a gentleman should act. In essence, then, Jake, despite his admonishing of Algernon, is very much talking like a hypothetical dentist, even if he isn't one. It is not only Jack who is hypocritic. However, as Algernon and Jack committed twin sin. After Jack admission of leading a double life, Algernon to confess, you have invented a very useful younger brother called Ernest. In order you may be able to come up to town as often as you like. The true irony of the hypocritical opinion comes out when Jack confides that he is not be racist and earnest. Then Wendelon is not opposite to the marriage as she had been a 5 minutes period. Indeed, as events unfold, her decision changed along with the changing of Mr. Worthing's first name. Remember that earnestness is a prize above all. So Wendelo and Cecily both desire to marry a man named Ernest. Whether he is really earnest or not is of no importance, because as Wendelo said, style is much more important than sincerity. All in all, the behavior of Wilde, son famous Hippocratic, is astounding to say the least. However, this must say something of a manner of the earnest Victorian age. Was it truly being earnest that was a desire of man and woman, or what is to appear earnest? If the latter is the true, then it is was necessary to be hypocritical just to keep a name. Regardless of the case, it can be sure that Worthing at least has a success. All of his life is claimed to be earnest, not Jack. But when he found out he truly was earnest, he finally realized the importance of being earnest. Conclusion, the importance of being earnest is a witty and satirical comedy that highlight the absurdity of Victorian society's obsession with appearance and social convention. It uses the theme of hypocrisy to expose the double standard and pretension on the character. The play ultimately serves as a commentary on the superficiality and artificiality of the society in which it is set. This is my reference. Thank you. Anybody question?
Krishna, my question is, how does the play satirize social hypocrisy?
The play satirizes an social hypocrisy is exposing the superficiality of the values and morals standard of the Victorian class, and while he uses a way uses way witty and humorous witty and humorous witty and humorous way to okay. Victorian society and true motivation and follows.
So, Krishna, my question is, who is the hypocrite in the importance of earnest, of being earnest rather than Jack?
The Elgernon pretended to be earnest in order to approach Cecily, and in the earnest and a woman is a woman is a romantically evil brother. Elgernon is a pillars of pretenders upon the assigned by fictional earnest, and the same of fictional invalid the friends in her himself uses. Thank you.
Respected Dilip sir and all dear students, good afternoon everyone. In the fourth day of presentation, I am going to deal with a topic, Robert Browning and dramatic monologue. This is some personal information. These are some important aspects which we are going to discuss in my presentation about Robert Browning, the author. What is dramatic monologue? The meaning of dramatic monologue. Types of dramatic monologue. There are 3 types of dramatic monologue. Browning and dramatic monologue, the main thing. Examples of dramatic monologue of Robert Browning. So let's start with the Robert Browning. Robert Browning was born on May 1812 in England. His father worked as a bank clerk, was an artist, scholar, antiquarian, and collector of books and pictures. Much of Browning's education come from his well-read father, as we can read here that his father was quite active in the field of arts. A bright and anxious student, Browning learned Latin, Greek, and French by the time he was 14. At the age of 14, he was learned 3 languages. What is dramatic monologue? The main thing, dramatic monologue is the utterance of a single speaker who is different from the poet. See, here I want to clear the 2 things. First one is utterance of a single speaker. Actually, dramatic monologue is a particular form of literature that in which we can say that we can see that only one speaker or in whole poem, only one speaker speaking, and the audience remains silent, passive audience in the whole poem. Single speaker who is different from the poet. For example, dramatic monologue of Robert Browning. His famous work is The Last Duchess. Robert Browning is a poet, is a writer, is the author of that poem. And in the Last Duchess, there is one particular speaker. The name is the Duke of Ferrara. So in that sense, the Duke of Ferrara is the speaker of that poem, and the author is different. The author is Robert Browning. So in that sense, speaker and poet is different. At the same time, it lyrically, because it is an expression of his own thoughts and inner drama. In whole dramatic monologue, in whole poem, we can see that there is expressions of own thoughts and inner drama of the one particular speaker. The relation of the poet and the speaker is the dramatic monologue, which is quite complex. As I say that, for example, as I try to understand you that how poet and speaker is different. The writer of that poem is different, and the speaker is also different. So readers what to do that they have to focus on a point of view of speaker instead of poet. It seems more appropriate to the portraiture of the person who so individually as to be abnormal, fanatic, and even madman. Abnormal because see, this is like a self-conversational. For example, if I'm standing here and I'm saying about this window, that how beautiful it is window and how beautiful the flowers and how red is these flowers, and I want to eat the flowers. Actually, I don't want to smell it. So what readers think that she is mad or what? But no, I'm not mad. I'm the reading the dramatic monologue. So in that sense, a speaker used to say whatever he thinks about a particular situation, but the audience remains silent. They have to only listen that whatever speaker says. My Last Duchess is a best example of a dramatic monologue. It is very short but keen analysis of Duke, who reveals consciously his character when he adores the picture of his wife. This is a main, or we can say prime example of Robert Browning's dramatic monologue, in which we can see that how Duke is expresses his say about his last Duchess. That's my last Duchess, painted on the wall, looking as if she were alive. See, we feel that he must be speaking, he must be talking with someone else. But no, there is a messenger, character of messenger, but he remains silent in the whole poem. There are 3 types of dramatic monologue. First one is romantic monologue. It is very simple kind of monologue in which we can see the love story of a speaker. If I'm not wrong, the Anthony Hatch's Dilemma poem is the prime example of romantic monologue. Conversational monologue. As I say, this the dramatic monologue is a kind of self-conversational monologue. There is a tone of conversation, but it is not properly conversation between two persons. Conversational monologue, and the third one is philosophical monologue. This third one is slightly different from the earlier two one, because this philosophical monologue is quite complex. This philosophical monologue, in which we can see that the speaker is continuously saying about his personal thoughts, his personal understanding, and his personal theories about world, or about any particular topic. Dramatic monologue and Browning. Browning's great discovery was the dramatic monologue. Firstly, he was not aware that what he has created, but as time passes, we know that how wonderful this genre it is. In depiction, a situation in which the soul was made manifest through circumstances. The main stuff of dramatic monologue is the speaker's personality and the situation in which he speaks. One thing is should be mentioned here, that this dramatic monologue is also known as persona poem, in which persona is the main character or a speaker, and the writer, for example, in the Last Duchess, the Duke is the persona, and the writer, it means the Robert Browning, is can be considered as monologist. The writer of dramatic monologue is considered as a monologist. Examples of dramatic monologue of Robert Browning, My Last Duchess is the prime example. Soliloquy of Spanish, sorry, it's my mistake. Here, one word is missing. Soliloquy of Spanish Cloister, Cloister word is missing here. The Laboratory, Porphyria's Lover, it is also a best example of Browning's works. Robert Browning, Alfred Lord Tennyson, Dante Gabriel Rossetti, Christiana Rossetti were early pioneer of dramatic monologue. Alfred Lord Tennyson's Ulysses is the prime example. Let me conclude the topic here. A renowned Victorian poet, Robert Browning, especially known for dramatic monologue. In these poetries, he delves deep into the psyche of his characters, revealing their innermost thoughts and emotions. Browning's ability to craft these monologues allows his readers to witness the complex, often morally ambiguous aspect of his characters' lives. Browning's monologues are a testament of his literary genius and cover the depth of human psychology. By these sites, you can learn more about this topic, and thank you. Let's discuss the questions now.
So Kusum, as you talk about dramatic monologue, I want to ask you that what are the key characteristics of dramatic monologue?
Okay, according to me, there are some things which are continuously mentioned in all the dramatic monologue, like innermost thoughts of a speaker, psychology of that speaker, and so this can be considered as characteristics of dramatic monologue. Thank you, Jesh.
Kusum, how did Robert Browning's use of dramatic monologues contribute to the development of psychological realism in poetry?
Okay, there is a particular type of monologue, that is psychological monologue. So we can connect this topic with this question, that in dramatic monologue we comes to know that there is a deep psychology of a speaker in a poem. He continuously saying that what I'm speaking, what I'm feeling, his own thoughts, his deep psychology, in every monologue we can say. So in that sense, I can say this, that dramatic monologue has contributed in the psychology of realism in poetry. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, myself Maya Bhatia. Today topic of the nature of marriage in the importance of being earnest. About Oscar Wilde, born 16 October 1844, Dublin, Ireland, died 13 November 1900, Paris, France. Oscar Wilde, an Anglo-Irish playwright, novelist, poet, and critic. He is regarded as one of the greatest playwrights of the Victorian era. His lifetime he wrote 9 plays, 1 novel, and numerous poems, short stories, and essays. Famous works of Oscar Wilde. First, The Picture of Dorian Gray in 1891. Second, Lady Windermere's Fan in 1892. Third, The Importance of Being Earnest in 1895. Character of The Importance of Being Earnest. First, Jack. Second, Gwendolen. Third, Algernon. Fourth, Cecily Cardew. 5. Lady Bracknell. 6. Miss Prism. Themes of the importance of being earnest. First, the nature of marriage. Second, the constraint of morality. Third, hypocrisy with inventiveness. Fourth, the importance of not being earnest. About discuss the nature of marriage. The worst condition of Victorian upper class society can be seen in the opening lines only when Algernon says to his servant that divorces are made in heaven. This sentence depicts a lot of the marital problems of the upper class society in the Victorian age, and whilst Wilde was no exception to it. After getting married and having children, he lost interest in his wife and began a homosexual affair with Lord Alfred Douglas in the following years. There are several themes in the importance of being earnest, through which the idea of marriage is satirized. These themes will be introduced below and then expand upon in individual sections. The first theme is love. The love the character feel for each other is sincere. Much of the play's charms come from the underlying love that the character feel for each other, even when this love seems angeled by things such as a character not being able to get past another not being named Ernest. The second theme is status. Lady Bracknell, in particular, worries about this, especially regarding potential suitor for her daughter Gwendolen. The third theme is deception. The title of the play is The Importance of Being Earnest. However, much of the play is based on accidental misunderstandings and on the intention misleading of others. Conclusion. While solidifies Jack's morality by having all of his lies become truth at the end of the play, he finds out that he is actually Algernon's older brother and that his name was meant to have been Ernest. This is my references. Thank you. You can ask any question.
My question is, how does the play challenges traditional roles within marriage?
The importance of being earnest challenges traditional gender roles by social condition and social condition and in, independence. Female character of Gwendoline and Cecily, the pursuit of love and marriage. Any question?
Maya, how does the marriage survey is a central theme in the importance of being earnest?
Marriage is a central theme of the play as it represents social conventions, hypocrisy, and social status. Many character of are the marriage uh, marriage of the social and financial financial status. Thank you. A very good afternoon to all. Today I am going to literature of the Victorian hard times, written by Charles Dickens. The brief information about Charles Dickens. He was born 7 February, died on 9 June 1817. hard times. There are points, some information, major character, major themes, literary signification, and criticism. Information about hard times. Hard times. For these times is the 10th novel by Charles Dickens, first published in 1854. The book surveys English society and satiristic the social and economic condition of the era. One of Dickens' reasons of writing Hard Times was that sales of his weekly periodical household words were low, and it was hoped that the novel publication in installment would boost circulation, as indeed proved to be the case. Since publication in has received mixed response from critics. Critics such as George Bernard Shaw and Thomas Macaulay have mainly focused on Dickens' treatment of trade union and his post-industrial revolution pessimism regarding the divide between capitalist and mill owners and undervalued work during Victorian era. F.R. Lewis, a great admired the book of included it. Major character, Mr. Garfield, Mr. Bounded by Louisa, Sissy Jupe, and Tom and Stephen. There are major themes. Utilitarianism, fact versus fancy, officiousness and spying, morality, the role of status on morality. Literary signification and criticism. Critics have had opinion on the novel. John Ruskin declared Hard Times to be his favorite Dickens work due to its exploration of important social questions. However, Thomas Macaulay branded it sullen socialism on the grounds that Dickens did not fully comprehend the politics of the time. F.R. Lewis, in the great tradition, described the book essentially a moral fable, and that's of all Dickens' words, the one that has all the strains of his genius, that of a completely serious work of art. This, however, was a view which he later received in Dickens' novelist, which recognized the Dickens' strength and artistry appeared fully in the works. There are references. Thank you. Ready for question? Shivangi, my question is that what is the theme of education in hard time? There are many themes I described in my presentation. There are two more themes. Hard times where our education. That having imagination component to to our education is crucial. Next.
Shivangi, my question is which theme we can consider as a major theme of the novel Hard Times?
The major themes was in Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I will tell about the role of women hard time. This is my personal information. Table of content. Introductions. Hard time for this time is the 10th novel by Charles Dickens, first published in 1844 54. The book survives English society and satirize the social and economic condition of the era. The novel was adapted as a 1915 silent film, Hard Times, directed by Thomas Bentley. The role of women. Women are excluded from political debate and matters on the outside world. Throughout hard times, the role of women is a vital in the development and outcome to the story. In particular, they cause Mr. Thomas Gradgrind, the antagonist school teacher, to change from his philosophy of rational self-interest and utilitarianism to become the thoughtful, selfless father. Seeking Second, by the realizations that his view and way of life have not been in the best interest of himself, his family, and his pupil. At first, the power and status which the woman possessed in this novel was in accord to the conventional rules of women in Victorian society. They were supposed to try and marry into wealthy family, have children, and they take care of them and her husbands. In standing up to Gradgrind and Bounderby, two stereotypical men of the Victorian times, and telling them what she believed could be seen to be representative of women and women of the era who were beginning to make a stand for women's rights and liberations. Just a few years before this book was first published, a women's right reform was passed. The three main female characters in Hard Times, Mr. Sparsit, Louisa Gradgrind, and Cissy Jupe, clearly represent in the three social classes of the Victorian era. Mr. Sparsit, beginning in the distressed upper-class gentlewoman who has lost all her wealth, Louisa Gradgrind being the middle-class daughter expected to marry into the wealthy family, and Sissy being to working class girls with a few expectations of empowerment. By ordering him around and getting him to do simple errands, she show that the woman in hard time have authority and power over the man. In this case, and Sissy telling her thus to leave Cocktown. If the marrying was to go ahead, then she would not have expressed love. Some key points related to the role of women in the novel include limited opportunity. Women in the story, like Louisa Gradgrinds, are often confined to domestic rules and have limited opportunity for education and self-improvement. Marital expectations. There is an emphasis on women marrying for social and financial reason rather than for love or personal fulfillment. This is seen in the character of Louisa, who is pressured into marrying Mr. Bounderby. Suspicions of emotion. The character, particularly Louisa and her younger brother Tom, struggle with emotional repressions and the negative convinces of not being allowed to express their feelings. Mr. Sparsit, a character in the novel, represents the stereotypical Victorian widow who is relegated to a life of observing and meddling in the affair of others. Conclusion: this is a portrayal of women in hard time reflect the social norms and expectational of the times, highlighting the challenges and limitations a woman faced in the 19th century. It seems as if the three female characters are in Cooktowns and represent everything which is right about Victorian England, a time of challenge. This is a way why the book has been pushed to both end and the spectrum from the
ultra-utilitarian view and philosophic of Mr. Thomas Gradgrind and the three thinking new female and imaginative CC Jude. This is my reference. Thank you. If anyone has a question.
So, Isha, how are women's rights and roles depicted in hard times?
In the book, there are there are few female character who faced various challenges and limitations in their rules, like Louisa Gradgrind, Sissy Jupe, and Mr. Sparsit. Next.
Vishva, are there any prominent female character who challenge traditional gender roles?
Yes, there are many prominent female characters in literature, film, and other media who challenge traditional gender roles. Some examples like Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling, Molan series by Dickens, and Elizabeth Bennet from Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice. These are some few examples, and there are many more female character literature who broken free from traditional gender roles in literature and media. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon everyone. Myself HEMALI PARMAR. Today we delve into social critics in hard times. Here is my personal information. Introduction to hard times. Hard times delves deep into the societal impact of the Industrial Revolution, exposing the dehumanization caused by utilitarian philosophy and unbridled capitalism. Through intricate characters and stark portrayal of 19th century England, Dickens explores the erosion of compassion, empathy, and humanity in the face of relentless industrial progress. The novel's depth lies in its unflinching critique of societal values and its poignant depiction of individuals struggling to maintain their humanity amid a mechanized world. Industrialization in hard times represents a profound shift in society, influencing not only the characters' lives but also shaping the novel's thematic elements. It underscores the dehumanizing effects of rapid industrialization, portraying the struggle between human values and the mechanized, profit driven world. Dickens critiques the societal consequences of industrial progress, highlighting the loss of individuality and compassion in the face of relentless industrial growth. The characters' experiences serve as a powerful commentary on the social injustice and moral dilemmas arising from this transformative period, urging readers to reflect on the deeper implication of unchecked industrialization on the human spirit and society as a whole. Role of women. In hard times, women face stifling societal expectations and limited opportunities, reflecting the constraints of the Victorian era. Through characters like Louisa Gradgrind, Dickens critiques the emotional toll of these restrictions, highlighting the struggle for independence and individuality. The novel serves as a poignant commentary on gender inequality, urging readers to reflect on the challenges faced by women in a rigid and oppressive society. Education. In hard times, Dickens criticized utilitarian education that prioritizes practical skills over holistic development. Characters like Great Grant embody this rigid approach, stifling creativity and emotional growth. The novel highlights the dehumanizing impact of such education, emphasizing the need for a more compassionate and balanced approach to learning. Dickens challenges the narrow objectives of education in shaping individuals, urging for a broader perspective on human development. Loss of imagination. Hard Times delves into the profound theme of the diminishing imagination in a utilitarian world. Dickens uses the circus symbol to illustrate the limitations of imagination in the face of materialism. While some critics overrate its positive influence, Dickens deliberately explores imagination's weakness, suggesting it cannot combat life's harsh realities alone. He implies that a fusion of imagination with faith is necessary, giving creativity a purpose and depth. This exploration reflects Dickens' belief that imagination, when intertwined with profound beliefs, can offer solace and meaning amidst the bleakness of reality. The novel serves as a reflection on the intricate relationship between imagination, faith, and the human spirit in a society devoid of these vital elements. Morality. Hard Times delves into the complexities of morality, exploring the consequences of utilitarianism and industrialization on human values through multifaceted narrative forms, including fable and cautionary tale. Dickens critiques the erosion of empathy and compassion in a society driven solely by rationality and material pursuits. The characters, representing moral archetypes, reflect the ethical dilemmas faced in a dehumanizing environment. Dickens challenges the very essence of morality, questioning societal norms and individual choices. Conclusion. In essence, Hard Times by Charles Dickens critiques the dehumanizing impact of industrialization and utilitarianism. It highlights gender inequality, shortcoming in education, loss of imagination, and moral dilemmas. Dickens urges society to preserve empathy, creativity, and genuine kindness amid progress. The novel serves as a timeless reminder to uphold our humanity and compassion in the face of societal challenges. Here are my references. Thank you. If anyone has questions, you can ask me.
HEMALI, what moral values does Dickens advocate for in the novel?
In hard times, Dickens advocates for compassion, empathy, and understanding. He criticized the emotions of kindness, love, and and emotional concept. Any other?
So, HEMALI, how does Dickens portray the role of woman in the novel?
Dickens portrayed the role of women primarily as highlighting their limited opportunities and gender inequality in the Victorian society. Thank you.
Shivangi, your remaining presentation tomorrow.
Sir, I checked again June or somewhere at Saturdays.
So tomorrow we will
make that. Okay? And tomorrow you have to give marks to everybody also by watching their videos. From the video you have to watch and give evaluation you have to do for the one you were absent, and the others will have to edit the form to give her marks in the one she was absent. તમે એક વખત એબસન્ટ એટલે બધાના કામ વધે. એક વખત પણ એ થાય એટલે અત્યારે છાયા છે તો એ પણ કહેવાય મારે કાલે આપવું છે, એમ ન ચાલે. તમે એમ કે હું કાલે આપું પરમ દિવસે, તો કેટલા કામ વધે બધાના. એ જોવું પડે કે મારા એક આ રીતે કરવાથી આખા ગ્રુપનું કામ વધશે, એનાથી ભૂલ પણ થશે પાછી બધી. So others will have to edit the form. Be careful, don't submit again. ફરીથી સબમિટ નથી કરવાનું, એડિટ કરવાનું છે. તમારા મેઇલમાં હશે એ લિંક, એના ઉપર જઈ અને એ કરવાનું થશે આવતીકાલે એમના એ પ્રેઝન્ટેશન પછી. Okay, so today we had one good example in JAYSHRI's presentation, and that was she connected with the real life experience. That is very important and very good to see. That when you see society or social realism in literary text, which is written 100 years back, but you see that the same similarities are found in our society surrounding. And if you are able to connect in the presentation, that is very good. That is what everybody should try also to do that. KUSUM's also were good. HEMALI also made a good on last one. Okay, the other comments we have given in between. So that is we have done. Some of you are still citing from study material sites by like PhD essays, UK essays. That is to be avoided, and cite from journals. Okay, so we are ending this session here.